I thought misery was what I signed up for. I got plenty of it. I just did it kind of in a really stupid way. So for literally years, I sequenced dreamer bulks with dreamer cuts. I got up to doing an intra-workout shake with 240 grams of carbs. And the thing is, what I would do is I would drink that shake during the workout. It was annoying because it was like a gallon. And then I would pee for hours after. And then I would f***ing starve for the rest of the day because my body's like, where are these carbs that are supposed to give me full? I already ate all of them, sorry. It was a stupid, stupid thing. Don't just hook, line, and sinker buy into some shit and blindly do it for months like I did. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength, and check this out. Good advice is everywhere today on the internet, but when I was growing up back in 1996, there was not nearly as much good advice. And nowadays, I'm pretty decent at seeing a bunch of stuff on the internet and vetting for what's probably a good idea and vetting out probably what isn't a good idea because, I'm all educated and shit, been training for 25 years, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of expected. But back in the day when I was younger, I didn't know nearly as much stuff. And I kind of took some advice I sort of, and I mean sort of, wish I hadn't. And the sort of is because in the long view, this really helped me. Because I get to teach all of you fine folks on the internet now and in real life and college and stuff about how to make better decisions than I did. And I will say something that you can't be the best teacher about which decisions are a better idea than not, really, without having made bad decisions as well as good ones. Because teaching out of theory only is cool, but doesn't go far enough. And I've been involved with a variety of lifters over the years who were either self-taught and struggled a lot, did a lot of wrong stuff, or lifters who were kind of brought into a really good system and kind of educated right up. And those lifters who were brought into a good system, from day one, they're training better than everyone else, which is awesome. And results-wise, it's the best. But those lifters often have a bit of a hard time figuring out what's wrong with someone else's workout or how exactly they would teach a good technique to someone because they were first in, they brought it up so naturally that it ends up being a little bit tougher for them to really be able to parse out what's good and what's bad. Because if you've only ever been fed good things, you just kind of assume everything's good. So what I want to do today is take a look at about 7 of the things I used to do in training and dieting that were kind of not ideal, and advice I received and advice I developed, and to tell you about why they weren't ideal, how you could apply them, or how you could apply the opposite of them to get the best results yourself. So without further ado, point number 0 is I did do a lot of underground Jello wrestling in Myanmar, and it's fun, but they put mines into the Jello. Scott, isn't that fucked up?
That is. They
like to see you explode, and that was not fun. That part was terrible. So that I do regret. Someone's like, hey, oh my God, you're in Laos. It's really fun, right? Like, yeah, you should go across a few borders and get to Myanmar and really have fun with Jello wrestling. I was like, all right, that was great advice. And I regretted it. Though I met very many excellent Myanmarese people. It was easier when we said Burma. That was a very rural Britannia comment. I take that back. Okay. Number one thing that I did, I read a lot of bodybuilding magazines and a lot of books. And what I got out of that a lot of times was eat big to get big. And that kind of and you want to get big, man, you got to get huge, brother. And at the time I was looking up to a lot of powerlifters who were doing the getting big in kind of a YOLO way. And I sure shit did that. So for literally years, I sequenced dreamer bulks with dreamer cuts. I'll talk about the dreamer cuts in a second because that's also a thing I did wrong. The dreamer bulks were like gaining a pound of weight per week, sometimes 2 pounds of weight per week for, 8 to 12 weeks at a time. What that did was added a load of fat tissue, stretched my skin, screwed up my physique, some shit I had to get surgery for recently to figure out. And it didn't add nearly as much muscle as I would have expected. And it was just really not good for my health. And also, I ended up getting so winded from exercise because I was so much fatter so quickly that I wasn't even able to do high rep work without something else like my lower back being a limiting factor. Made me miserable because my calves were swollen, lower back were swollen walking around. This is pre-steroids, by the way, which is even worse on steroids. And so it ends up being like dreamer bulk is this really cool idea. You're like, I'm going to get huge and finally girls will like me. But in reality, bulking much slower is what I would recommend. And I was just wrong about this. I was wrong. And it wasn't like I invented this idea. I can't take credit for that, but I really like got sucked into that like eat big to get big idea. And there's the good idea there is you have to gain weight over time. But the best idea is gaining like half a pound per week for 12 weeks and then dieting off all the fat and then repeating that is way, 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 way better than what I did, which was gain like, 18 pounds of mostly fat and then spend a long time dieting it off. But not too long, because I did this number 2 mistake, shitty advice, again, that I took and then took for myself after that, is radically fast cutting. Here's the thing about cutting. When you lose fat in the process of gaining and losing cycles, the fat loss isn't like to be some cool exotic looking thing at the end. It's just to get rid of the fat you gained during the gain phase. And you kind of intuitively want to do that as fast as possible because what do you want to do? You want to get back right into bulking as soon as you can. So what I would do is I was losing at least 1% of my body weight per week on pretty much every cut that I did, which means the food came down a ton, which means the energy and training came down a ton, which means I probably lost a little bit of muscle on most of these cuts, regained it on the bulks. And that ended up just being this thing where I was suffering a ton on the bulk from stuffing myself and being super unhealthy and feeling and looking like shit. And then suffering a ton on the cuts because it's way too few calories to fuel really good training, good cognitive performance, good daily energy, good sleep. And then I would just zigzag like this. And the good news is over the course of the long term, the zigzag ended up being really good and I got jacked and lean and all that stuff. But if I was to go back, it would be the same zigzag, but less up and less down, little mini zigzags, end up straining your physiology much less, end up giving you the same or better long-term results for muscle gain and fat loss, and don't make the whole process nearly as miserable. But I thought misery was what like I signed up for. And I got plenty of it. I just did it kind of in a really stupid way. In addition to, so error number 3 and number 4 are sub-errors of stupid cutting practices. One of these sub-errors, number 3, is that I would regularly do no-carb diets for cutting. One thing I noticed was on a no-carb or very low-carb diet, basically keto, I would do that all the time back in the day for cutting, I would end up having very low hunger, which was good for me. Keto was always good for me. Like after a while, I just don't feel like eating anymore. And then proteins and fats don't really get you excited. But it robbed me of psychological energy and physical energy and pumps and probably quite a bit of muscle as well. My training went to a completely different standard, a lower standard. When I started dieting more rationally and having moderate carbohydrates in the diet, my results just got way, way, way better. But I was a maximalist back in the day. In some ways, I still am. Carbs have calories in them that I don't need. And I was big in the keto space. I was consuming a lot of that literature. I was quite enthused with it. So I was like, let's just get them down to 0 and go. And it worked. But again, a lot of misery for concomitantly not so impressive results. Number 4 point that I also did, which kind of sucked, was I would, at the end of cuts in which I wanted to get much leaner, and for clients I was coaching, believe it or not, in bodybuilding, having never competed in bodybuilding myself at the time, yay, I would have people do what I called Palumbo days, named after Dave Palumbo, who was a big fan of the pretty radical cutting, big fan of low carb. And at the time, I was a big fan of Dave. He's great. He's a great person. I don't agree with him on everything, but that's okay. No big deal. And he has these things that in an emergency situation are really, really great called Palumbo days. And that's basically when you do just protein and veggies for every single one of your meals that day. If you have really to get in shape fast, you really have to catch up behind schedule on a show prep, throw in a couple Palumbo days or something I think Chris Aceto called going nuclear, like down to the very core of just protein and veg, is effective. I mean, you could have a day where you eat 1,200 calories, but you have enough protein. How the f does that compute while you just don't eat really much of anything else except for like 20 trace grams of carbohydrates from the veggies? And so I would do these days where I prescribed them to clients. Everyone hated them. They were miserable. I hated them when I did them. They sure as shit got you to lose weight really, really fast, but it's very, very miserable. I'm not saying these are bad things. I just overuse them like crazy. So a moderate approach with moderate carbohydrates, not having to do as many low carb, low fat days is a really swell idea. I thought they were magical, and the more I sprinkled in, the better things would get. And again, too much of the zigzagging bullshit. But hold on, the zigzagging gets better. After a while, and I got a little bit more sciencey, the nutrient timing stuff started coming out. I was very enthused about it. Anything that had a proposed structure to it. When someone said, this is how you should do things, I was very, very interested in. And so this is a similar thing to like Mike Mentzer fan worship. Mike Mentzer has a lot of fans. And one of the reasons is he gives definitive answers. He gives a system. One set is all you need to total failure. That idea that there's something definitive, and it's not like, well, you could do a little of this, could do a little of that, brings in a certain kind of person. I was for sure that kind of person. So when I got into the workout window nutrition stuff, which is greatly overvalued, by the way, I was like, okay, let's take this experiment to the moon. So what I started doing was pushing more and more of my carbohydrates into my workout window. Myself and a few of my friends, God bless their souls, in my PhD program, tried to consume the vast majority of carbohydrates around the workout window, which means what? At the very extremes, what I was doing was having protein, and protein was 50 grams of protein or something in a shake, and then another carbohydrate shake with it that had electrolytes, lots of fluids, and a ton of carbs, usually through Gatorade or dextrose powder. I got up to doing an intra-workout shake with 240 grams of carbs. Scott laughing.
So crazy.
So man. Crazy, right? And the thing is, what I would do is I would drink that shake during the workout. It was annoying because it was like a gallon. And then I would pee for like hours after. And then I would starve for the rest of the day because my body's like, where are these carbs that are supposed to give me full? Like, I already ate all of them, sorry. And so it turned out that the marginal benefit for anti-catabolism and anabolism, preventing muscle loss and growing muscle from having that many carbs in a workout window is like, at that point, 0. And 140 grams of carbs in a workout shake would have done 95% of that, and 100 grams would have done 100% of that. That what I was really doing was making myself uncomfortable during the workout and uncomfortable the rest of the day because I was so goddamn hungry because I'd stacked all my carbs and calories in with highly glycemic carbs that basically don't fill you hardly at all. It was a stupid, stupid thing. I would not recommend doing it. It turns out nowadays we know that nutrient timing isn't a super big deal. A little bit more carbs around your workout's totally cool, but we do mean a little bit more. And that post-workout window, if you have a ton of rice or pasta or some bread or something like that, that's really smart. But during the actual workout, because you make a ton of carbs, is really just backwards. Most of them just don't even get into the bloodstream yet. They kind of have to stack up and wait and all that stuff. And the anabolic effect's just not there. So a lot of excitement over a whole lot of nothing. And yeah, it's just a lot of wasted time. However, I was not done wasting time. Years later, I got into really trying to push the optimum on macronutrient intake as far as proteins related to carbs related to fats. Proteins we had squared away. Okay, we knew what that was. But then we had this thing where carbs have like all kinds of kind of glucose, insulin mediated anabolic benefits, and they fill up your glycogen, which makes you more anabolic. And so carbs are really good for muscle growth. And you look at fats and you mostly look at literature and it's like, yeah, fats are good. They're essential. But as long as you have like a certain amount, then you're good to go. And if you're taking exogenous steroids or testosterone, like I was at the time, you usually don't even need as many fats to do those hormonal things because your hormones come from a needle. So myself and a few of my friends were pushing the pace on how much carbohydrate we could eat with how low of fat we could eat at the same time. We thought it was going to turn us into mega bodybuilders, and we were already pretty jacked, but it didn't do a whole lot of anything except make us very, very inconvenienced because you can't eat really almost any normal food anymore. I was eating multiple days of 700 grams of carbohydrate with 30 or fewer grams of fat. Scott, how do you think that's possible?
Tricky.
You can't have oatmeal.
Yeah, that's tricky.
So at that point, it's purely incredibly lean meats, no oils, some veggies, dry carbs, and that's kind of it, like rice or whatever, pasta maybe, and lots of fluid carbs and stuff around the workout. It was cool, good pumps, but it turns out much of the literature that's come out since then has shown that anything between moderate carbs and moderate fats to high carbs and lower fats, like in my case, not 30, but 80 grams of fats, is really good. If you start to get lower carbs and higher fats, there's some data to suggest that muscle growth doesn't occur as well by a little bit of a margin. If you go ultra high carb and really low fats, you're at least suffering for no reason at all. Or if you're not on steroids, your testosterone's too low and now you're actually getting like not as good of results. So anything between like 50-50 fats carbs calories wise outside of the protein and, like 70% carbs, 30% fats calories wise is really, really, really good. The rest of it too extreme. It doesn't work in practical sense. It's annoying as fuck, and it just doesn't yield results. If I got way more notably jacked eating 700 grams of carbs and 30 grams of fat, I would probably continue to do that still. It just didn't play out like that. So no big deal. The last thing, point number seven, 5 + 2. I knew that. I guessed it before you did. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for cardio. It was my big idea. I was like tired of walking and getting all my steps for cardio. And I was like, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu and I plan to do it anyway. And it's going to burn a lot of fat. And it did. But it also cost me the use of like every other month I had another joint that wouldn't work. Eventually that got better. But jiu-jitsu beats you up, fatigues you, injures you like almost nothing else because it's a combat sport. And so a lot of people have asked since like, hey man, I'm thinking of picking up jiu-jitsu for bodybuilding kind of cardio. And I'm always like, I tried that. It was stupid. Don't do my stupid advice. Just think about, okay, do I really want combat sport or do I really want bodybuilding? And really lean heavily to one or the other. If you do jiu-jitsu with bodybuilding, do it slow, do it easy, do it for technique mastery, flow rolling only, until you really are ready to say, okay, it's okay if I get hurt a little bit. If it's okay, I get fatigued a little bit. I got nothing in bodybuilding coming up. I'm really going to focus on jiu-jitsu. The two don't play well together. Nothing really plays well with jiu-jitsu because it'll f you up because that's the whole sport. It's literally trying to f people up. So my big conclusions from all these things, guys, are as follows. Moderate pace on dieting, up and down. 0.5 pound a week up, 0.5 pound to 1 pound a week down in tissue, not 1% shit. For most people, for looking your best. Moderate macros, no crazy high carbs, super low fats, no crazy high fats and ultra low carbs. Something in the middle, biased to one or the other a little bit, but nothing crazy. Steps for cardio, daily steps, 10,000 daily steps is amazing. Jiu-jitsu is awesome in its own right, but not exactly good for bodybuilding cardio because it'll f you up. Those things have given me my best results. And you might be able to benefit from some more extreme approaches, but remember, try them at a modest level first. See how you're feeling it out and go from there. Don't just hook, line, and sinker buy into some shit and blindly do it for months like I did. You could do that. Things could go poorly for you and you end up being fat and alone when you're 40. That's hypothetical though, because I'm not that fat. See you guys next time.